April was an odd month for me in that I just had terrible luck finding stuff for the first two-thirds of it. I kept to my usual listening habits of having a big list of things to check out and hitting them at total random, and I just kept finding duds through pure chance. Then, when it got to the 20th and I still didn't have a single entry over here, I panicked and binged a bunch of more surefire things to close things out so I'd have something to talk about. And then, after I'd gotten enough entries from that, I went back to the usual method and suddenly found a bunch more things I'd like to talk about. So now it's a longer than usual list. This has resulted in what I think is a pretty strong end of month list, even with some of those assumed surefire bets not making the cut like the new Scimitar. But the pointy end is basically all bigger names, so I think that it'll be lacking in a bit of that, hey, check out this cool thing I found discovery aspect. Not that it really matters, but generally it's been the lesser light second stringers that have gotten the more reactions from people, so I guess we're just going to settle for my decibel approved April ranking. Number 8. Kazuki Hishida, Moment of Silence. I feel kinda silly including this one since it's just so simple and standard that there's really not that much to sell it on or talk about. I just like it, you know? Kazuki Hishida are a Japanese death grind band playing pretty straightforward grind with a lot of focus on distinct riffing, so it's pretty fast but it's never particularly overwhelming since you're meant to actually be making out all of the trem riffs and style changes instead of drowning in chaos. I guess it's going for a similar audience to something like Death Toll 80k, but less sweet deathy. There's sometimes a few little touches of that colourful Japanese metal punk style coming through, but mostly it is just death grind. You've already heard stuff like this. It's not the best one in the style that you've ever heard, it's not the heaviest, it's not the fastest, but I still think it's a really pleasant use of 20 minutes. Speed and riffs delivered efficiently and neatly. Sometimes that's all I need. Number 7. Tricidio, Epiphanic Delusions of Spiritual Warfare. Tricidio are a more down-the-line grindcore project by a couple of the Cognizant guys. As you'd expect from that band's technical death grind chops, they're absolutely comfortable just steaming ahead doing their best early Wormrod impression as quickly as they possibly can. It's probably quite a lazy and simple task in comparison. That isn't to say that they completely ignore detailing and intricacies in this more stripped-back band. They still have fairly diverse little songs which find some time to play around with some little change-ups to go along with all the turbo bludgeoning. It's just really focused on going hard all the time. There's not much in the way of super outside of the normal warehouse kind of stuff, but they've got these fun little two-steps and occasionally more intricate riffs which mix up the more direct energy stuff. Cognizant definitely stand out more and are more interesting, but I'm not one to turn down some really well-made turbo grind. Number 6. Immolation, Descent. Immolation did a new album, so that's on here obviously. They're a damn reliable band, and even with a fairly middle-of-the-pack effort from them this time, it's still pretty great. You know, because it's Immolation. I was super enthusiastic about Acts of God. I hadn't liked Atonement's more stripped-back and less messed-up sound, so having them come back to something kinda like Unholy Cult with the more herky-jerky grooves and epic, evil lead touches was exactly what I wanted at the time. This one is something of a friendlier version of that. It's not anywhere near as wonk-free as Atonement or Kingdom of Conspiracy, but the dissonance and pinch harmonic spam is toned back quite notably from the last record. Generally, the albums which do this are my least favourite in their discography, but they cover for the brain-crushing with a lot more big and dramatic lead work to give them that grandiose sense of majesty that they can pull off so well. I definitely like it a lot less than like 7 of their other albums, but it's not a bad addition to their endless, high-quality discography. Number 5. Trichomoniasis, containment facility. I guess after makeshift crematoria, it makes sense that trichomoniasis would come to the conclusion that they've kind of maxed out the limits of that chaos noise, ultra brutal death metal. So they've gone in another direction. It's still noisy, difficult madness, but now it's being placed in a very organised and considered fashion instead of the utterly incomprehensible random violence of the debut. They're now doing something like industrial music made out of brutal death and gore noise parts. Not like jabby, dancey industrial, but the rawer, higher art, antisocial machinery grinding type of industrial. All the whirring violence in here pulses like a big warehouse full of roaring boilers and cooling fans, and it's just weird as hell, man. It's just so fucking weird. It's like they tried to make brutal death covers of the sounds of AI data centers. I definitely don't like it as much as the straight up violent hellscape of Makeshift, but I've never heard anything remotely like it, and that intrigue mixed with the still fairly damn high level of filth death metal brutality makes for a combo that I'm really glad exists. Number 4. Conifere and Vesperal, a double tranchant. I can't speak French, come on. This is a short 2-track split between a couple of Canadian black metal bands featuring half-matching lineups. I'm a big fan of the last Conifere record, and while I'm not the biggest Vesperal fan, they're certainly not bad, and it's great to have the first band back. Conifere play a type of hyper-energetic mellow black that I absolutely love. The big thing that sets their particular niche apart from the other branches of the subgenre is the speed. When they go, it's so insanely fast and rush-sounding that I find the enthusiasm utterly infectious. They may not be the most elaborate or artfully composed melodies ever made, but they're twice as fast as any reasonable melody should ever be, and the free bass sugar hit of it just sends me into a diabetic seizure. They separate themselves from other hyper-mellow black acts like Ultra Silvarm or Pasiasme by mixing a bunch of other kinds of ear candy black metal into it, which could sound kinda scattershot and random if it wasn't so much damn fun. They do happy, punky dance sections and mellower, agalockish breaks, and somehow it all fits next to the passages of 300 beats per minute blasting because it's all so sickly sweet. They've still got it, it still rules. That track is definitely the selling point, since I'm really not a post-punk guy, and Vesperal are all about doing post-punky melodic black metal. It's definitely done well, it certainly doesn't drag the little EP down at all, and I can see people into that side of things preferring it, but it's not why I'm here. Number 3. Ecchymosis. Thanatocorporeal sculptures of cryogenic excruciation. This is actually something of a disappointment for me. I've absolutely adored most of what Ecchymosis has done over the years, and in particular I've enjoyed their progression from a pingy knuckle-dragger slam band into a pingy fast blast fest band which happens to be using slam riffs. This one is a step back to something more recognisably slam than anything they've done since the debut. It certainly doesn't regress that far, but outside the absolutely chaotic closer, there's nothing here pushing up to the incomprehensibility of the last EP. It's certainly a hyper-brutal slab of slamming ugliness, which I love, but I don't know. I just want more blurs of noise and fewer mosh breaks. Of course, with it ranking this highly, I'm not exactly disgusted with the output. It's a disappointment only in the strictest sense of the word. It's the disappointment of when your $50 winner drifted to 60s after you backed it. This is excellent. It's just not exactly what I want them to be doing. It's a very well composed, varied, and intense slam record with a filthy sound and a bunch of standout moments to set the songs apart. It isn't what I wanted them to do, but I like what we got a whole bunch. They're absolutely one of the best brutal death bands going around, with a swing back to more swagger here. This is still one of the best things I've heard all year, but it's not one of the best things I've heard all decade like I was hoping for. Number 2. Retortion. Razab Mint Ahlal. Retortion are a band harnessing the powers of plagiarism for good. I mean, look at the damn thing. You know what they're doing, they know what they're doing, and goddamn do they do it. And you know what? I'm all for it. Of all the bands in the world to rip off one-to-one, Repulsion are a pretty damn good option. They only had one album almost 40 years ago, and while they were influential, there isn't really anything that just sounds exactly like them. By the time it got a lot more blasty death grind, both genres were more well developed and production ideals had shifted, so nothing really hit in the exact same way. I don't have any room in my heart for the 36 bolt thrower clones that get put out every single year, but I do have a little spot for Retortion. It certainly doesn't hurt that they absolutely nailed the assignment. The production is perfect. It's as authentic a retro sound as I've heard in the style, with no temptation to use sharper drum stands or clean up the fuzz bleed. It's mixed as a brick and gets variety through using all the tricks in Repulsion's book. Blast and trem gives way to punk riffs, which gives way to completely amusical lead spazzing, which fits in right next to rapid chunk riffs. It's all fast and raw and ripping, and all the riffs rule because they're Repulsion riffs with one note changed. If you didn't want to get ripped off, you shouldn't have been off living your best lives for the last 4 decades. Number 1. Egregore. It Echoes in the Wild. This one's a little off-brand from most of the hyper noisy shit I tend to put the spotlight on, but what could I say? At heart, I'm still a normie-ass music fan who likes it when an album has 600 fun riffs and just tries to dazzle you with things that sound cool and kick-ass. Egregore feature a couple of Mitochondrion guys, but do not go in expecting anything like that whatsoever. This is super hooky and high-tempo tech thrash with a bunch of lively death metal in it. It's both very homogeneous in staying in a similar sphere, but it jumps around and varies the leaning so much that it makes it very hard to make specific comparisons overall. It can be fairly aggressive, but obviously never to the point of what Mitochondrion can be. It can be really clean and melodic, there's crazy shredding solos, it can fall back on just weird guitar noises for highlights, or knuckle down and drop a dozen of the most entertaining rhythm riffs you've heard in 15 years in a row. It has a tool bag of literally everything and delivers it at maximum tempo and exuberance. Sometimes I'm reminded of Malicious and Absu. Sometimes I'm reminded of Toxic. Sometimes I'm reminded of goddamn Merciful Fate. Sometimes I'm reminded of the last Horrendous record and Vector. Sometimes I'm thinking melodic death metal. Or sometimes it's the Chasm or 2. The list just goes on forever. If it can be fast and techy and fun and thrashy, this has a bit of it at some point and it absolutely rules. Despite being such a wanky, excessive and lighthearted experience, it's drawing from so many turn-of-the-90s sources that it still manages to sound grounded and authentic instead of something excessively experimental, despite it not sounding like anything else out there and being undeniably fresh. It's 45 minutes of peak techie, thrashy, riffy, deathy goodness, and it's going to be hard to top for the year. So that was my April. Given the end of the month went so cleanly, I've still got a few surefire things to hit up next month, unless I decide to hold them back in case of emergency. I don't have a whole lot to hype up for the coming few weeks. My next big project video is still locked behind me checking out another 70 to 130 releases, depending on how wide I cast the net, so I wouldn't expect that before June. I have had an idea for a quicker, lower effort video, but it likely would also demand a fair bit of listening if I don't go full ass pull on it without really confirming my thoughts, which I probably shouldn't do. So yeah, maybe I'll see you in a month. Maybe I'll see you sooner if I bum rush the quick and easy video or think of another quicker and easier one. Whatever it is, I'll see you then.